Good evening, everyone. I hope you guys are having an amazing Friday. I just wanted to come on really quickly just to share an encouraging word. God's really been talking to me about focus and being vigilant, especially as I'm believing Him for promises. And I just felt like so many of you are in the same situation where you've been praying, you've been fasting, all these things, and we're just waiting on the promise. But we have to be vigilant because there is a real enemy out there, and you don't want to get caught slipping because you're not looking for the distractions. You're not on guard for what may come because the last season has been so tiring. So I just want to talk to you a little bit from Matthew 3 and 4. So Matthew 3, Jesus comes and he gets baptized by John the Baptist. God comes down in the form of a dove for the Holy Spirit, and he says, "This is my son who I am well pleased," right? We love those moments where we get pats on the back. It makes us feel like we're flying high. There's no wrong that we can do, at least in that moment. And so we kind of get a little comfortable, right? We kind of start to slouch a little bit because, okay, I'm doing a good job. I'm right where I need to be. And then in Matthew 4, he was led out into the wilderness to be tempted by the enemy. Now, the important part that I want you guys to note about that is it says in verse 2, when he had fasted for 40 days and 40 nights, afterward he was hungry. Now, when the tempter came to him, he had some propositions. Y'all, this is so real. When we go into a fasting season, when we are starting a business and we know that there's a lot of work to be done up front mentally, somewhat emotionally, and prayerfully, spiritually, we're prepared. We're like, all right, I know my stomach is going to be growling, but it's all right. This is for a goal. This is for a reason. There's something I'm going to get on the other side. Like, I got this. You start a new job. Like, okay, I know for the first 90 days, I got to be on it. I got to be on top of it because they're watching me. They're judging my ability to stay and be a good employee by the way that I'm doing this trial in this first 90 days. Even with your business, you know you got to grind in the beginning if you want it to take off and really do well. So we're always prepared in the beginning for that hardship, for that labor that we must do. But what happens when it's over? What happens when you come off that fast? What happens when the business starts to go? What happens when you're walking in purity, right? You haven't been dating for a while and there's no sex and all of this stuff, and you're like, okay, I got this, right? I got this. But you're also tired. You're also a little bit weary because it's been a little bit of a battle, right? You have new staff and you have to get used to new procedures. It's been a little bit of a battle. What happens in those moments when we're hungry, right? Like Jesus, when we're hungry, when we put forth all of our effort to do this thing, to get through this wilderness, to get through this trial, to get through this season, and now we're looking for food. That's where the enemy comes in. When you've been abstinent, because I try not to say celibate, when you've been abstinent and you've been going hard for God and someone comes around, it's easy to miss red flags. It's easy to just latch on, right? Because you're hungry. When you've been working and plowing your business and it doesn't seem to be taking off the way other people's businesses have been, it's easy in that season to just say, okay, where can I take a shortcut? What else can I do when God gave you the blueprints and the instructions for how He wanted you to build? Why? Because you're tired and because you're hungry. You're ready to see either some or a lot more fruits of your labor. And so I just want you guys to be careful. Again, you know how I feel about cuffing season and just not going back into recovery. We have to be very careful. Sometimes what the enemy puts in front of us isn't bad. The very first thing that he said to God, that he tempted God with, was food, which wasn't inherently bad. It was just that I would have to follow the instructions of the enemy to get it done, right? That's where the issue comes in. That's where the perversion comes in. It's not that he was hungry. It was what he had to do and who he had to obey and who he had to bow down to in order to be fed in that particular moment. So just be careful in this season, no matter what it is, that when good opportunities come, when new relationships, whether it's friendships or romance, come, that you're taking a moment and you're checking in with Holy Spirit so that he can give you wisdom and discernment, so he can let you know this isn't the one, or this isn't the right idea, or this isn't the plan that I have for you, so that we're not bowing down to the enemy, so that we don't look up in January and find that we've drifted away, that we have over time gotten out of alignment because of one little decision that we made that seemed to be harmless, that seemed to be just what we needed, right? It seemed to speak to that place that was hungry because of something good we did, because we were following God. Just because it's good doesn't mean it's God. And so I just want to challenge you, as I challenge myself. This happened to me recently. Thank God for the grace of God, that it wasn't big and it wasn't crazy, but I felt really bad for a day because it put me in a mental space that wasn't God's best. It put me in a mental space that wasn't a part of his grace, that didn't contain his peace. But if I had just consulted Holy Spirit for 2 seconds before making a decision, I wouldn't have felt that way. And so I just want you to be encouraged that whatever you're putting the seed in the ground for, it is going to come to fruition. Whatever you're praying and believing God for, as long as you're moving in faith and doing the work, it is going to come to fruition. But we have to be vigilant so that in this season, when things seem dead, when things seem barren, when it's cold and you're hungry, right? That we don't forfeit the blessing that comes with the spring harvest. That's what's most important. So be encouraged, stay vigilant, stay in the presence of God. Make sure you're talking to him about everything, even if it's just a 2 seconds. Like, what do you want me to do? Is this a good idea? Better you open the door for him to come in and instruct you than to go on your own and to be upset later because something different could have happened if you just consulted your wise counsel. Remember, God knows everything. He is everywhere. And so he is the perfect one to instruct you in matters of the heart, in your business, in your career, with your children. It doesn't matter what the category is. He's more than enough, and he's the best one to instruct you. The word says that many are the plans of man, but God directs our path. And so my prayer for you is that you allow God to come in and direct your path, to keep you safe, to keep you motivated, to keep you fed, so that when it's due season, you can reap your harvest. I love you guys. Have a wonderful weekend. Talk to you later. Bye.